space tech companies and supported by EU. He has also developed a report on Smart Campus IITD, setting the agenda for smart campus living at IITD. The report was received well during the presentation at the NEM Summit during Frankfurt Book Fair 14 to 16 October 2015. He is involved in several policy-making committees in ICT in the center and state governments in India, also on jury of prestigious awards committees such as Digital India Awards, National Awards on E-Governance, Data Security Council of India, and Computer Society of India E-Governance Awards. He is a recipient of prestigious Humanities and Social Sciences Fellowship of Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, Calgary, 1996, and was a visiting fellow at the University of Manitoba, conferred Best Professor Award in 2012 at Singapore World Education Congress and CMO Asia. We take this opportunity and a privilege to namaskar you and give you a very warm welcome. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Broto, and really it was very elaborate introduction. It was not required, but I think when we put up something on website after having served for more than 30 years, a few lines will be extra than required. Nevertheless, I'll share with you today my own experience of working on various projects, and most of them are funded. Uh, so may I know the type of who are participants here? They're all professors or faculty at various schools or colleges.
There are faculty members from our college and faculty of same course, and there are many independent
There is some issue in Hello, Dr. Bhutto.
yes,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know about the participant. Who are they? What is the background? How many of them are there? Can you?
Um, Sir, about 110 are, I think, participating, but we have a registration of more than 200 all over India. Their backgrounds are from dental, medical, it's multidisciplinary, management, engineering, and others. Sir, I believe your mic may be off.
um,
It is muted.
Yeah, yeah, you
you
can
know,
unmute. Yeah, it is audible now.
Okay, all right. So I don't know what
Thanks.
I was saying and what you heard, but I'll repeat again. So I just wanted to say I'm really honored to be with you this morning via this session, and thanks Dr. Bruto and Dr. Yamini for inviting me. I'm sure participant must have had very rich exposure to various thoughts coming from experts on this subject so far in past 2 to 3 days. I don't know how much value I'll add, but definitely there'll be a perspective which will come from my own experiences. That may be something uh, additional. Research grant is very important uh, for a faculty member, because faculty members, uh, their role is very unique. I remember my own early days when I joined IIT Delhi in 1997. I was so first excitement was I got offer from Delhi IIT and I become faculty of IIT Delhi. That was, super excitement, uh, uh, being part of IIT ecosystem. And then after that, so it was 97. That time, funding opportunities and resources in departments were very limited. Uh, and so almost all of us have been, depending on grants by government to IIT Delhi and IIT Delhi to various departments. So allocations were given to departments, and department then allocate fund to various activities. Also, some share goes to faculty to, meet some requirement. It was very meager. However, I did not look at what department gives, what kind of support system that is available exist in the IT system. The very first day or second day, probably I got my visiting card printed mentioning M.P Gupta, assistant professor IIT Delhi, was enough for me. And from then onwards, that visiting card helped me to leverage my my you know my uh, my IIT affiliation to reach out to world across the world, beyond IIT, in Delhi NCR, beyond Delhi NCR, across India, beyond India, across the world. This this was very powerful. I'm sure uh, this is an advantage to anybody who is part of should like IIT and IIMs. Nevertheless, I have seen many others who are not part of such system, but still they are creating wonders. Now, how to go about that? Yeah. So I'll just run through. I prepared few slides, reading from various sources. I'll run through, and in the while running through the slide, I'll also add my own experience. So grant is basically a mechanism by which an agency awards money to fund a research study or any other activity that faculty proposes, and this has to be coming from any educational institution. Okay. So, but funding agency is very, very conscious about sparing money to a project. Project has to be aligned with the priority that funding agency has made for themselves to address. So it's all about a problem. It's all about, some concern, some challenge that agency, maybe ministry, maybe some research agency, maybe some NGO, maybe some global entity, maybe some corporate entity, maybe some industry body. There are variety of, every organization is, is grappling with uncertainty, challenges of tomorrow, not today. Today they exist, they live, but they are more worried about tomorrow. And tomorrow is only, they no way you can know tomorrow. You only can know, make a guess. Making a guess versus making an educated guess is the difference. When you want to make an educated guess, you need to have a lot of knowledge. Lot of knowledge. So that's where, a faculty member, a professor becomes important. He attains importance because of his profound knowledge in the subject, and that's why agencies, uh, reach out to professors across the world. And if you, so I'll just, quickly mention. I was actually mentioning about various agencies. So government ministries is the one. Uh, every ministry and government department, they have a special fund for R&D. Many of them are not really very much promoted. They are just left on website. You have to make effort to go and find out opportunities that connect to your area of this specialization. Then there are government also, have a special uh, fund dedicated for research, and they are routed via various research agencies like in science technology we have DST, in social science we have ICSSR, And also agencies like scientific agencies like CSIR, ISRO, Baba Atomic Research, etc. They also have a special program for collaborating, co-opting institutions of higher learning into their projects. These projects are very live projects. So for them, research is not fundamental but more applied, and research is uh, it doesn't have no longer time frame. It is more into a compact time zone. So a year or so, or two maximum 2 years time zone. Normally, the difference between consultancy and research is that in consultancy, it is a quick fix opportunity where an organization approaches you for a quick case study to give them some insight, some trajectory, some recommendation. It is mostly a month or 2 months, 6 months, maximum up to 1 year. But research projects are different from consultancy in the sense that research projects are meant to do some R&D, do some investigation, go deeper into the subject matter, look at cross-discipline available tools and framework, and see how a new a phenomena that you are dealing with, is to be dealt with something a new approach. So R&D projects basically is of longer term duration, but around 2 to 3 years time zone, even longer than 3 years sometime. If it is a very strategic project, mission mode project, so they have longer term time frame. But 3 year is normally stipulated, more understood, and commonly prevailing time frame of research projects. Uh, Also, industry bodies I mentioned, CII, NESCOM, FICCI, they also they keep bringing out reports. Their primary job is to become a bridge between industry and the government. They help government to frame policies that suits industry. They help government to create a very fertile, very positive ecosystem of industrial growth. And their role is very critical because government policies drive everything, entire ecosystem, entire nationhood that we exist in is guided by a government, and government frames policies. Those policies uh, are earlier, prior to internet time, used to be confined to bureaucrats and some technocrats and some experts, and they also engage with industry bodies. But now, post-internet, the participations are humongous. So via various platforms, this policy framing exercise is expanded to involve even common people, common citizens. If you go to MyGov website portal, you will find many schemes where government seeks your opinion, seeks your real input, and they also incorporate that. Corporations also fund research. This is the one area I think all of us should make an attempt, because normally worldwide you see in R&D funding is mostly coming from government, but there is a small difference. Western countries, the participation of industry and corporations are significant in funding research, while in India or Asia, uh, government funding is dominant. So, so overall of the GDP, I think 1% of the GDP goes into R&D, which is very meager in India. So if you have chance to look at current science, technology, and innovation policy, which is in a draft note right now, you go to DST website, you'll find this policy document. It's a wonderful document. I am really surprised why this document is lying in dormant. None of us are talking about that. If you remember national education policy, that provoked a lot of interest all across India before it was finally adopted by government 2020. Parallelly, National Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy of Government of India is lying since 2020 as a draft mode, and it is not seeing the light of the day. While I had chance to go through 11 pages of 11 chapters of that policy, it is fascinating document. Actually, it is actually weaving future of scientific landscape of a future India, where Prime Minister is visualizing all of us to see 2047 when India will be a developed nation. Now, my point is that the difference between a developed nation uh, and a developing nation, is very clear, very distinct. Now, to understand this more, you can look at all nations who are treated as developed nation. Like America is number one, Canada, Australia, UK, Germany, France, Japan. What is special about these nations? Why they are advanced nations? Why they are economically very rich nations? If a developed nation is the one where per capita income is 12,000, sorry, $18,000 or more. Okay, so South Korea is falling into that category. China is 12,000 crore, sorry, $12,000 per capita income. So as China is a fantastic example in fact for us, and I think these are not forever. They'll be a part of developed nation because reaching from $12,000 per capita income to $18,000 per capita income is not very far for them. The way they have been growing in past 20 years, India is catching up. This is what I can say. However, if you look at nations like China, China is a fantastic example to emulate actually in science technology because also look at technological competitiveness index of the nations. You will find India is falling far behind 50, 60 or somewhere that. While Western nations who are developed advanced nations, primarily they are advanced because of very high quality research. Okay, you see another example is look at global ranking of universities. In India is not figuring into top 150, top 100, 150. The nearest one is IIT Bangalore, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, and few others into the basket of 170, 180, and more. Now, this is not something great to vouch for because uh, in past 20 years, China was where we were. Now, today in top 10, they have few universities. In top 20, they have few universities. Top 100, they have few universities. There is one index to see how R&D, how research happening in university campuses has brought out lot of economic opportunity, lot of employment, lot of growth, economic growth to the nations. They have become developed nations. Okay, another comparison you can just see to understand what I'm wanting to convey is a list of Fortune 500 companies. If you look at Fortune 500 company in past 30 years, India's presence is has remained insignificant. Few years back, none. Now we have seven companies, 7 to 8 companies, and all oil companies, Indian Oil and BPCL and ONGC and whatnot. No, I think no private company there is there in Fortune 500. Now this list means those world corporations who are highest in revenue generation, highest in profit making. So one is always Walmart or few global oil companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all part of the list. In that list, in you know some 10 years back, China had few representation. America had 180 companies. Today they have 140 companies. Now today Chinese companies are flooded there. More than 100 companies are part of Fortune 500 coming from China. Japan has had number of companies. They have reduced in number now. Now, looking at this, you see a flourishing corporate ecosystem, a flourishing industrial setup is also one signal of economic growth, developed nation. Industry is highly backed up by research and R&D. It is highly, and industry itself has a lot of research wing. You see, IBM Research Lab. IBM has every top company has a research lab. IBM is a world-class technology company, but they have a research lab and they have labs all across continent, across the world. They have few in USA, one in Japan, one in India. May started in 1998. They have one lab in Australia. Now these labs do what? They do research on those topics, those subjects where that get converted into some prototype, some product, some services, some solution, and that has commercial value for future. And look at whatever technology we use today in your look at your surrounding, your own handset, your own laptop, your network connection, your and thousands of software working in tandem, allowing these hardware systems to bring to you world class connections to you. All that you want to do, your business function becomes smooth. We are talking sitting at different places happening because of now in this space of technology, hardware, software, and network, etc. You see, IBM has major slice. It has all coming from R&D, top class R&D labs. And what they do, they pull up great minds from academic campuses, all mostly doctoral PhDs from top class places, and they populate the labs and they do R&D. I have had chance to be part of IBM Research Lab in Delhi, and so normally these the lab don't allow outsiders. And what they do, I had a chance to go to one of the sessions there when they were reviewing one of the software they bought. It was a startup company on asset management, and they bought that product from some company, and they were trying to integrate with their own similar solution. Okay. Now these companies also do a lot of buying. They buy and then integrate. IBM is known to have largest number of business analytics solutions, largest number of supply chain solutions. Now, it is not purely own developed. Many of them they nurture via startup ecosystem and they buy it. Many of them independently rising companies they buy it when they see there is energy. So I was sitting in one of the sessions. Am I audible to all of you? I'm just kept on talking. I couldn't check.
You're audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
You're
all
very
right.
much audible.
Okay, all right, good, good. So you can stop me if you have any question in between because I can't see you and you are also, I don't know, you see my slide only. Uh, so I was
I
referring
think
to, yeah,
I think the
yeah,
participants can raise their hands and then Professor Gupta can take them whichever questions are there in the middle or at the end, whichever way he likes.
yeah, you coordinate that part. I'll
Yeah,
just
I
let
will
me,
do that.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So let me stop any question I can take right away.
Currently, we don't have any raised hands, sir.
Okay, all right, all right. So I was referring to my own, engagement with IBM Research Lab in India, Delhi. Now they have moved to, I think they have lab here in Delhi and also in Bangalore. So I was more in IBM Research Lab in India started with IIT campus. The first lab in 1998 was actually housed in IIT campus, and that was the opportunity where I got connected to a lot of scientists of Research Lab IBM. In fact, idea was to IBM will get a lot of faculty resources and shake hand with our competencies and develop some solutions, some patent, etc. But somewhere we parted way because on IPR issue, there were some differences. IBM wanted complete control. IIT really wanted some share. So I think they moved out of the campus. They went somewhere else. In fact, so after that, I remained in touch with them, and I had chance to attend many of the internal meetings out of sheer affection and respect that they had. And so what I was referring to one session where they were trying to figure out how to integrate a solution, a company they bought over, and they wanted to integrate their solution into their own solution. It was an information asset management. Okay. I gave some suggestion, of course. No, so why I say, so what happens? This proximity of working with corporations also gives you a lot of opportunities, opens up a lot of opportunity. In fact, I remember my own when the IBM Research Lab was housed in IT campus. I had been working on auction. Auction is if you know eBay and Baji.com was earlier auction company. eBay bought over. Auction is one another way to buy or sell an antique item or item that you want to dispose of at a price which is not known to you, and then you just discover the price. That depends on how people are bidding for that to take it. So this there are various concepts. Right? It's a very complex subject in terms of when you are going to have a online and uh, online setting, and you are trying to price in real time system scenario. So we were researching on this subject via a couple of my own MBA students, and Growth, I think was Susame, she was there here. I don't know whether group who are working on that she knows or not, but we were in working in tandem with similar group working from IBM. So IBM has a product called net.com. No, sorry, net.commerce that become enhanced package of a lot of solutions around internet presence of a company, and it was known as now later as a web sphere suite. Also entailed lot of artifact uh, uh, that help a company or a website to design auction features into that. In that, what were the initial struggle was to allow online real-time negotiation when it's a scenario of multi-currency trading. Okay, so right now, if some product is being bid by a person sitting in Russia, a person sitting in Japan, in Brazil, in Canada, in Australia, in Singapore, all these are no actually bidding for the same product, real time, but they are bidding in their own currency. We needed an engine that will instantly convert in real time and show value to respective, so all bidders know who are the other bidders, competing bidders in their own currency. So this was a very complex phenomenon. We have been working on this. And subsequently, I discovered that IBM has actually matured that feature, and it was made part of WebSphere suite. What I'm referring to you is just look beyond grant that is coming from typical standard sources of research like DST, ICSSR, and CSIR, etc. These constitute a very small part of opportunity that is in the market. Okay, so corporates like Microsoft Research, SAP Lab, Google Research, they have plenty of funding opportunity. But I think they will not touch anybody and everybody. They will be very careful. You have to showcase your competency so that you become sought after expert for them. And I don't know how this is going to be possible. You have to publish good papers, quality papers, and then it will be noticed and they will invite you. I remember once one of the, I think, very first batch of MBA in 1997. Few students have been working with me for their major project, and I was in touch with Ranbaxy Lab then. Ranbaxy Lab was a great pharma company. Now it is renamed with some other name. It was a star pharma company of India. But so when we were in touch with Ranbaxy, they had a problem of uh, legacy system because they were wanting to implement SAP ERP. And legacy system was still there with them, and it was actually holding their primarily account function. So they wanted our help to guide them into how this can be integrated. And the problem was, being old system based on Sybase, etc. The legacy system had no historical background document available in which, so whatever is the logic, whatever the various modules, how they have been connected, nothing was available on document to decipher so that you can see how SAP can be connected to that. So my students, I remember they're all great alumni now. They are doing wonders. Deepak Bhatia, Pankaj Jasal, and Lakshana Chadda, three of my students. They worked during summer training. Summer project also went on to do major project subsequently on the same, and they developed complete documentation of this. So I authored this paper subsequently that was published in Vikalpa, a journal published from Ahmedabad. This was somewhere noticed by SP India, and they invited me to give a talk to their software engineers. Now I'm just sharing with you an example how you can be noticed by great corporate entities and research wing of those entities. Flipkart I mentioned because I just came to know that IIM Ahmedabad has a center on digital transformation totally funded by Flipkart. 20 odd crores have been given by Flipkart and few other companies as a consortium to do R&D to to understand consumer behavior in online shopping and a few other issues alongside that. Uh, so I think anybody can reach out to Flipkart today. I can also reach out to Flipkart, Amazon, etc. to get funding. In fact, many of the time I have been approached because of bandwidth. I had to step aside for others. But opportunities are plenty in number. Beyond, I'm just trying to humbly suggest you look beyond DST, CSIR, ICSSR, etc. And there are huge opportunities that exist across the world. Go global, actually. Go global. I'll come to also explain to you global agencies also where you can bid for projects. So while I was trying to see, there are a lot of ideas which are connected. See, we are only. I'm just trying to explain to you. You position yourself as an instrument of creating new knowledge. Do R&D where nation is strengthened. Nation is strengthened means all agenda of growth of a nation. You are also a part of that journey. Now you have to figure out how you are contributing into scientific prowess of India. These are all mechanisms to showcase your worth. It is not an aim. It should not be an aim. It is only a means to to solve social problems, solve problems of industry, and also develop more competency among yourself, and always work in collaboration in group, because alone you alone will be having limited time and capacity to showcase your worth. Always high impact is seen by a group. Many of the institutions are known for research group, not by individuals are also very important. For example, Michael Porter. Michael Porter is a professor of strategic management. Many of you may not be knowing from which business school he is from. I'll take a second call. Hello, अमित बोलो. कौन बोलो? हाँ हाँ जी, कर दो कर दो. चलो, बाद बात कर. वही बाद में करते हैं, मेरा कुछ क्लास चल रहा है मेरा. Okay, dear. So I was referring to I was referring to yeah, group. So many of the situations are known for the research lab, research group. Okay. For example, in nanotechnology in India, IIT Bombay had a huge mega laboratory and infrastructure, but primarily driven by our ex-director Professor Ramgopal Rao. But he built up a large team of researchers and few of his own colleagues in IIT Bombay. It was having a funding of 150 crore or so at that point of time. And via that lab, he was able to create some two or three deep technology startup. They are now fitting into DRDO and defense establishment. Also, few into high technology setting, and they're all making profit. So you see these funding opportunities not to grab a funding because you will not know the art of if you get I'll give you 2 crore rupees as a fund to support your project. I will be surprised you'll be struggling how to spend the money. So unless you have a group and then conceive pan-India project covering the scope should be pan-India or even global, will give you a very high class uh, insight. Ultimately, you and me, uh, we are few percent of the population in India who are in the category of knowledgeable people. We call expert. Now, what is the level of expertise that we possess is needs to be figured out. So you need to be very ambitious in your pursuits. And that's why this diagram I'm taking more time to explain you opportunities that exist beyond non funding agencies. You may be also knowing NGOs, trust foundations like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They are very liberal in supporting projects on the healthcare sector. And in our department at Delhi IIT, we have two funded projects of 10 crore each. 20 crore they have supported to our faculty colleague Professor Mahim Sagar and Sanjay Dhir, who are taking pan-India-wide studies to find out something connected to COVID, etc. So you can also bid these, Bill Gates, Minda Foundation, Dell Foundation, Ford Foundation. There are Rockefeller Foundation. There are many such NGOs or foundations that exist who support. Even Tata Trust provide a lot of funding to large projects. Then there are global agencies, European Union, World Bank, and ADB, and uh, now looking at and some all UN agencies also have some schemes to fund research work. Okay, and also national agencies like DST and CSR, EISSR, they also have a special mechanism that allows you to fund a collaborator in another country and jointly bid a project. For example, India and Ireland. So a professor from Ireland will leverage funding opportunities of Irish government, and we sitting in India will leverage the funding opportunity from DST or CSIR, ISR, and then together we conceive a project where the lesson from India on a subject will be available to Irish researcher, and experiences of Irish setting will be available to us, and so it will be a comparative study. Okay. this is since I had chance to have led a project funded by European Union where we were required to, as Broto briefly introduced, I'll just add on that. This was a this was a project where we were required to develop cluster to cluster participation. For example, on internet technology. So that means who are the innovators in internet technology of the future in Europe or in India, try to find out them and then try to find out user setting where these has potential usage and try to connect them. Okay, so what we did, there is a five-way technology. If you type on Google, you find details about that. It's a European Union supported middleware repository library of smart city solutions, and five telecom companies like Atos, Orange, Telecom, and two more, missing out their names. They formed a consortium. European Union funded some percentage of that, and they developed this repository of solutions, library of solutions on variety of smart city setting. Traffic signal, capturing images, analyzing analytics part, uh, traffic management, community management, campus management, all variety of solutions they had. Now, what we did, we connected those who were part of 5 year to Indian players in a smart city landscape. And it so happened subsequently to our initiative, we also involved World Bank in India also. And what happened subsequently, World Bank funded one pilot project based on fiber solution to be showcased in one traffic signal setting in Goa, in a somewhere in Goa. I don't know much about details about that, but I just came to know that they have, and that is operational. What was the idea? It was idea where a lot of startups in a smart city space were uh, made partnership to implement fiber technology into traffic signal setting in Goa. I just showcase how a technology that exists in other setting can be adopted, and lot of it creates a lot of opportunities for startup and businesses, also uh, skilled people to be part of it. So you look for those are percentage also, and also country to country agencies are also encouraging faculty to shake hand. You can do that. Uh, then next is collaborative projects, which is maybe having a scope of global scope or regional scope or national scope. It depends on uh, how it is conceived. Now, this can be, let me give example of one project that I know of. This is Globe 2020. Uh, if you if you type on Google Globe 2020, it's a global leadership and organizational behavior effectiveness uh, project. This was conceived by a professor from Wharton School in UPenn, named as Robert J. House. And he conceived the idea of a large-scale international study on cultural leadership and organizational practices. So that means, India, in what are the leadership practices in India and say Europe or in East Asia or say Middle East or Africa or South America. So if no, one individual cannot do this. Leadership practices in India will be totally different than what is prevailing in Japan or China or Western Europe countries or even South America. So this project was conceived to involve researchers who are operating into various continents, and they were given instrument to capture data and do analysis and then share the insight with the global this group. This is a running project, and it was able to create a lot of knowledge. I I know Dr. Ali Das Malchain. He unfortunately passed away 2 years back, but a very great friend of mine. He was dean of business school in Simon Fraser at Canada, and he was actually championing till he passed away 2 years back. This project after passing away of Robert House, who actually started this project. Okay, and so this project has expanded or involved more than 200 researchers worldwide in 62 countries. In fact, this is one of the largest and most prestigious and most comprehensive studies of its kind of social sciences. Now, what I'm referring to this, you also can you find out in your area any such project exists, you can offer yourself to be part of it. So you will be getting exposed to a global research community. You see the picture here, all coming from the 62 nations. Uh, if you don't find it or not, it is fascinating to you. You can you start thinking you also can conceive a big idea. You begin from your region itself, maybe North India, so you try to invite researchers from say North India and make some project where you can capture data from various places via these professors. Pan India can be a scope. You can gradually enhance to Pan India. Every state has a great institutions of higher learning. You can collaborate with them, invite them to be part of Pan India project on various subjects. Now, question is who will fund that? Who will fund that? So every individual will be exploring local support. Part will come from institutions where they exist, and some will come from local sources. Even I'm very sure if you have a serious idea, even government can fund, industry can fund, industry bodies can fund that. Because ultimately you are covering Pan India scope, then industry body will be primarily interested. Government will be interested to know. You have to be only careful about how to conceive the project idea. It will not be something that sun rises from the east or west is a question. No. It has to be something like, for example, RBI is now thinking about launching a digital currency after uh, you know, a lot of noise coming from Bitcoin, etc. And private currencies, government thought why not offer a regularized e-coin, e-currency. So it will be just like rupee we have 500 rupees, 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees. You can have in digital form also. So digital currency has become RBI pet project. They have gone through 2 rounds of pilot testing in B2B. It is successful. I am sure by year end or early next year, it will be available to common public also. Now, this is an area where government need feedback. Can you conceive a project and gather, tie it, connect to RBI officers and see how can you get help from them in terms of funding and also some facilitation to gather data so that what you do will be useful to RBI. You see, any if you want a fund, you have to understand what funding agency want to you to do. What is their priority of research? If you prioritize that work, funding will be easy. So I was referring to variety of opportunities. Then you can also form consortium. Like many of the time in India, I remember Ministry Department of Telecom had a center of excellence on telecom research. It was housed at variety of places. Delhi IT had one. Other IT also must be having one. This was totally funded by telecom companies, Bharti Telecom, RDI, and few others. So ministry funded partly and also partly came from these companies, and they opened up center of excellences just to create knowledge some awareness, some create a forum of discussion, and also in the process, bring out some bright ideas. Because telecom the industry where lot of standards are being developed. It is a very evolving this in the so you try to find out consortiums where fundings can be uh, obtained. Uh, Last but not the least, if you look at left hand top, I mentioned CFP versus independent. CFP means call for papers or call for funding or call for research. CFP is more popular when you are trying to develop paper for conferences. Okay. Uh, Similarly, often there are standard research schemes from CSIR, AICT, DST, and they open up call for proposal. There are deadlines you submit depending on what criteria fascinates you, and it is reviewed by some expert group, and you win or lose depending on how your project is seen by expert committee, and you get funding and you get going. Versus, so this is a limited space, very competitive and very limited space. Government funding is not going to increase. You have to look at government, of course, will like to see an ecosystem where all kind of research coming from variety of other non-government sources should be enhancing. So, as an independent person, if you are evolving as a thought leader, you are known as I gave example of my own experiences. You will be actually able to leverage more opportunities for funding your research than depending on scientific organizations of government. No, I missed out again completing what I was referring to. Research makes a nation great, world power, superpower, and science, technology, innovation policy of Government of India, which is in draft mode, is actually visualizing the entire mission of that document is to make India third most admired scientific power, superpower in the world. Now we are not superpower at all in science and technology. And now this policy is visualizing us to become superpower, third superpower in the world. We are nowhere right now. Now this is a long journey. In technology front, we are only importer. We are importing nation and technology. We don't do any R&D worth creating that is affecting entire society. You can vouch in ISRO. You can vouch COVID vaccine that was launched recently, and few other innovations. I agree with that. But in a larger game plan where we stand, we are still an importing nation. So on technology competitiveness, we are falling behind because of not focusing on research in a precise manner, in a collaborative manner, and funding is also narrow. So journey is very arduous. I'm sure I'm suggesting you to look for these things. Let me complete also China. How in China 20 years it is a non-English speaking nation. Science technology worldwide is known to have roots into where English is a primary language. Most of the scientific knowledge base is actually coming from uh, grammarly, syntax, syntax, all having somewhere uh, non-Asian setting. India has adopted because India has for a long time English as a um, language of education. China never had. But look at on technology forefront, they have great companies. Huawei and JTO, they're all world-class telecom companies. In 5G technology, they are competing worldwide. Tencent, Baidu, you see, TikTok, there are, you know, 2,000 apps Government of India banned after Galwan Valley clash. 200 plus apps, all Chinese sources. When Chinese guy wanted to retaliate, they could not find any app in their setting to ban. This is the comparison. Okay, you buy any mobile phone, all utility functions, you have plenty of apps, all coming from Chinese sources. It used to come now. There is a bar, so you go for American companies, American apps. You see hardware, software, anything you take, all actually is either Microsoft or Google or somebody else. Our tech companies are only, playing as a intermediary role, servicing all across. So this is the hard fact. It's very disappointing also. Very disappointing. But we are aiming to become third superpower in science technology. How it will come? Unless we give more funding to R&D and R&D across all India institutions, including you here and there. So let me now complete here. What is the motivation of a grant? One is to advance scientific knowledge to solve a problem or offer solution to, for example, ISRO. ISRO has Chandrayaan project or Mangal project or many projects. They they do a lot of collaboration with the industry to develop those products, etc. Also do a lot of R&D with IIT and DRDO also do backup R&D feed to ISRO. Baba Atomic Research, again, they also collaborate with industry and also institutions of higher learning. Can you be part of their search for solution? Can you be part of search for solution with them? This is also one thing you should think about that. Now, in due course of your research journey, you will emerge as a thought leader. What is thought leader? Is somebody who is sought after person in terms of guiding policy. Are you part of any government committee for policy making? Government should be, so you must be recognized, that government consult you, industry consult you. Now look at professors from academic world who are part of government committees, industry bodies. Who are they? Ashok Jhunjhunwala. Have you heard about him? And many more. I just remember because I know him very well. He's a telecom guy. He got Padma Shri Award and many Professor D.T. Sani of our IIT Delhi. He was awarded Padma Shri last year. He is the person who designed and developed electronic voting machine in the country. Entire country for the past several years we are using e-voting machine to vote. Every election is happening on that machine. Sorry. That is designed by our professor. So emerge as a thought leader. When you are applying for a grant, you are also getting to meet a lot of experts from other places. I'll take a 1 minute break. Okay, let me resume. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay. So I was explaining this slide. So purpose is to also connect to a lot of experts. I meet a lot of people while uh, bidding or uh, getting part of my project being reviewed, etc. And also you bring a lot of prestige to your institution. Also you should become rich enough, and also you create opportunity for your scholars, your assistants, your young colleagues. These all motivate you to. Um, I was very lucky since my career started in 1990 from IIT Roorkee, and I had never had a time uh, without a project. Always I had a some project, and that made me a very rich professor in terms of resources, because you don't depend on your department, your institute for small requirement, and your ability, your mobility also is very smooth. You can travel anywhere without waiting for departmental support. You can meet anybody. You can travel abroad also. Mobility is very important to actually deliver some great research. I see, on mobility front, there is a lot of restrictions in private institutions. And whenever I get chance to convey this message to private owners of the institutions, I always, advise them to give your faculty complete financial freedom so that he is mobile. Whenever and whoever he wants to meet or she wants to meet, support that travel, support that stay. Even random just request, somebody from Chennai requesting to meet, say me for a week. Support should be given to the person to stay in Delhi for a week, travel support, and some contingency, so that in 1 week meeting with me become fruitful to him. Just getting us exposed a small time talking to senior person will be very enlightening. When I went to Kyoto, Japan a few years back, I discovered there are 5 Nobel laureates sitting in the Kyoto University. I was very keen to meet one of them for at least photo session. I could not because I think on that day when I was there, none of them were present. But just shaking hand with a Nobel laureate will create some different vibration in your body and your mind. Your thinking process will be transformed. I think you attempt to make an attempt to connect you, identify your icons, research icon, professors who you just love them. You want to spend some time with them. So one opportunity, you must have done PhD, you love your supervisor. I hope all of you love your supervisor. I love my supervisor very much because he is the one who taught me art of research. Many of them, there are some issues. Still go beyond that. Try to, because research is a long journey. PhD is only a small step to get trained, and you are into world of scholars. No, among the world of scholars, you try to identify someone you admire most because of thought, because of sheer new idea, new knowledge that he or she has given, and then you try to get get support and also his or her time so that you are able to benefit from his engagement. Well, advantage, you build individual credentials, develop and nurture team of young and experienced researchers, develop a plan for long range uh, for yourself. This is important to know when you are bidding for funding, no matter how good your idea and how well written your proposal is. If agency is not having that priority, you will not get it. Majority of the grants are coming from government sources. Okay, and so that is one easy, but I think I will recommend you to go beyond government and more from private funding. In fact, there are 7 lakh plus US foundations in US context. I think I picked up from some US sources only. So 7,000 more, 7 lakh plus foundations, institutions, and NGOs who support research grants. India, all NGOs are eligible to offer you, those who are successful, not all. And you need to find out them. Large corporations, as I mentioned to you, are interested in testing and evaluation of their own products. So private sector is a very good potential source of funding. So I just looked at Bruto mentioned about you pick up one scheme. So I picked up Military of Electronic Night because I mostly research into area which pass under this ministry. And if you go to the ministry website, I think you go to all government website which is connected to your subject. If you look at this, they have, you see, you are here home about MATI and schemes and services. Within scheme services schemes. So the schemes describe intensive uh, and then NGO grant, people promotion scheme, hardware scheme, PhD scheme, additionally entered scheme, and also I think some project funding as well. You'll find plenty of them if you explore this website. For example, R&D development, R&D in electronics, R&D in IT, schemes and policies, R&D in CCE and VT, I don't know what, startup, innovation and IPR division. So there are specific schemes you can explore and find out details. You will discover format, cycle of announcement, and then how it is done. You can also try to meet people personally to find out more specifics around these schemes and then bid for that. I picked up uh, there are many national priority programs like Smart City, Digital India is the one, Make in India, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is a one of the greatest programs that I have seen in this government. One of the most impactful program. Clean India is great program. You will find all of you will find some slice for yourself to contribute. It has huge uh, project ideas for civil engineers uh, and mechanical engineers, electronics engineers, chemical engineers, also social scientists, psychologists. It's more about behavior change. Anybody who is in OBS, HR, they should come forward and bid projects for from Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I'm referring to explain your Digital India because Digital India is one program where it corroborate the how India is progressing on digital landscape. You see, uh, all around we see now digital proliferating. Uh, all your payments, all your interactions are happening via digital means. Our dependency on digital landscape is very high now. So Digital India has a umbrella uh, schemes and programs covering all dimensions of that. The major three vision areas are now create infrastructure, then offer services on demand, and also see that citizens are empowered, digitally empowered. Empowered means your awareness about your benefits available by a government should be high. Your democratic rights should be known to you. You are a decision maker of your own destiny. How digital layer is able to empower that, do that. This is the task. When I looked at these three vision areas, then I get tempted to develop tools that after 5 years, suppose this grant is over, government audit CAG start asking government, now show me you have spent 1 lakh crore rupees on Digital India in 5 year time. So I mean 5 year time, how much citizens are digitally empowered? What will be the answer of government to CAG? Okay. So look at these 5 bullet point. Universal digital literacy. Has the digital literacy been 100% or less? And what is the intensity of that? What is the speed of that? What is the degree of advantage people have right out of being digitally literate? that a few questions will be asked. Now, can you develop a project to do research on that? Because government will not be knowing much. Then secondly, universally accessible digital resources. Universally, everybody having digital access? Not, not all. Availability of digital resources, services in Indian languages. Collaborative digital platforms are participative governance. They are all bullet point are potential project proposal. I was tempted to develop an index where government can find assessment of the digital schemes and know how much empowerment citizens have been uh, given via these schemes. In seeking ground, there are competition. There are a lot of people who are all of you are competitor in some way, but nothing to worry. I think when I explained you all landscape of opportunities, it has opportunities for everyone. So look for that one that fits you most. I think this must have been taught to you or explained to you by previous speakers. So I'll probably skip this or run through. I will leave it this slide to you. You can keep it you and read more. Okay. So that's all from my side. In case you have any question, I'll be happy to answer that.
Yeah, it's a very good presentation, and we appreciate highly about all the experiential journey that you shared. We were wondering that are there certain formats for applying for non-government agencies? For example, you shared about Microsoft Labs and IBM Labs. Is there a specific format which we can share?
Formats are all there. When you go to websites, if they have defined a scheme, they'll have a format. But if you don't, they don't have defined a scheme, then they will give you, they will ask you to prepare a brief 2-page proposal. Now, proposal always will have some standard headings, objective, background, then objective, then your approach, and then your specific deliverables, then costing, budgeting, your timeline. So they are the standard headings. So format is not a problem. In fact, I'll share with you. Last month, I got a call from AIC's chairman, Professor Sitaram, and I met him. So he said, "No, I have a there's a wing called MIC, uh, Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, and it exists since 2017. And their job is to create a culture of innovation across schools and colleges. They do a lot of hackathon. Also, they have school councils, etc. So faculty ambassadors, etc. So it is triggering a lot of innovation in schools and colleges. Mm. Students are taking interest. They are creating patents. They are also going for startup as well. Now he was keen to know what is the impact of this. Can you help measuring this impact? Because now he's seeking he so last year government of India gave 80 crore to MIC for their task. Now they wanted to expand and go in big bang across pan India, all colleges, all every institutions. They need lot of money. So they said, Gupta sir, we want to bid for 500 crore from government. Now asking 500 from 80, we have to justify very strongly. Can you help creating a document for that? I said, how much money you will give to me? So he said, you you tell me. So I'm just telling you, and I have done a few more similar kind of projects. Ad hoc discussion may things popped up. Can you do it, deliver it? And then you design. So in these kind of project, there is no fixed format. Many of I think in my assessment there are out of 100 project which is in structured format 30-40 percent of the projects are actually can be created, can be guided, and they will fund that project.
One more quick question. When we are filing for this NAC NBA, so we share this kind of, company projects as consultancy, or we can share it in the research grants also?
Now the nature is all well defined. If you are mostly in company setting, it is all consultancy because companies don't give you fund for 2 years research or 3 years research. We don't have patience. They want quick report in 3 months time or year time. In year time, what research you will do? Okay, so I think primarily it will fall into a consultancy basket. But if you are approaching R&D labs of corporations like I mentioned about IBM Research, Microsoft Research, Tata Sons, Tata Trust, and I'm sure even I'm not familiar, but many of the Indian companies also must be having some R&D wing. If you reach out to them, I think there is a very patient engagement, and because they know R&D research is time-taking exercise.
I think there's a question from Ms. Shagufa. Ms. Shagufa, can you please open your mic and your video and ask your question? Ms. Shagufa, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
I
audible.
can hear you, sir.
Can you please ask your question?
A very good morning to all of you. So my question is, as you said, in order to get funding from the agencies, one should understand what exactly they want. So my question is that, so how to obtain their interest in our idea? So any tips regarding that?
So your idea and they should take interest is one thing. Other would be to look at what they do, what is their priority, and then start conceiving a proposal around that. As I explained to you about Digital India, I gave you three column explained three vision areas of Digital India. Digital India is a very massive project. There are more than 40 mission mode projects covering income tax and excise, custom, and whatnot. There are plenty of subjects, police. So if so, you go to these schemes and try to understand what are the struggles they have. Okay,
Okay, sir.
what are the
And
pain
sir,
areas?
as a yeah.
So I it's about Digital India. I was explaining the vision areas, and I actually I explained that your question is actually is connected to that. When I explained, I myself was tempted to develop a proposal for measuring the digital empowerment part. So in 5 years'
All
time, 1 lakh crore of investment, how much Indian citizens are now digitally empowered by various schemes? Can we develop some indices for that? Now, government has not asked for that, but government, these three are vision areas. They are the top priority of the government. After spending 1 lakh crore rupees in 5 years, government should know what is the success of these programs. And it will be only via realizing these three vision areas. One of them is citizen empowerment. So this is how you apply your mind. And then somewhere you convey this to senior people. They may get excited, they may not. I have not spoken to have I actually so what I do normally when I think this way, so I develop some instrument myself before I prepare a proposal because ultimately just getting an idea and talking and getting fund, then you get stuck into delivery, which may or may not happen, and you earn a bad name. So what we do, you spend a year time creating some literature, going so knowing subject more deeper, creating some instrument, tentative instruments, and then you prepare the project. So I guided one scholar. It was a PhD topic of one of my scholar and he did a good work. The bad luck, that in research PhD journey, uh, things get heavily oriented because of demand of literature review, demand of theory proving, demand of publishing. So the a practical problem gets secondary treatment. So when I began the doctoral study guiding a student, the idea was to develop some indices, some instrument of measuring digital empowerment, but then it got diverted into uh, proving theory of empowerment, etc., and it got into a different direction. However, I'm sure had I been ready with some indices, I could have got some crores of funding from Ministry of Electronics and IT.
Okay. And sir, as a beginner in this research field, sir, shall we go for CFP or shall we go as independent?
Dekho, in early career, in my time also, I remember I was novice, and somewhere senior people came forward to give me, they co-opted me into their own projects, and I learned a lot. So I'm sure if you can find some mentor, some senior professor whom you show your worth, and he'll co-opt you. So your journey becomes, a little smoother because you cannot become independent thinker so early.
Right, sir.
Yes, you can definitely. Why not? But I think it takes some time to become, become mature into this subject, because when you talk to somebody, people should be ready to hear also. Okay, all of you, I am sure, must have done PhD. Have you done PhD, Sir Gupta?
No, not yet, not yet.
Anybody who has done PhD here,
Planning to
doctor?
pursue, sir.
Good, good. Carry on.
People who have done their PhDs here.
Now let me put a question. No, pick up your PhD thesis. If you have done this PhD, so you say if you have done PhD on e-commerce, for example, go to Flipkart, go to Amazon. Uh, take a time from Amit Agrawal of Amazon. He's Vice President of India Amazon operation, and he will give you time probably. May not, but if suppose it happens. So if you show him the thesis that you have done in the PhD on e-commerce, what he will do? How much interest he will take into your document? You start from this uh, introspecting how much your work is seen as a valuable piece of document to somebody who is directly doing business into the subject, are dealing with the subject. Any government agency or any corporate entity, if the subject matter is falling in that domain, in their area, your thesis should be a piece of fantastic knowledge. They are attracted to look at those pages, hold on for a moment, and then look at you, sir, can you guide us more? Okay. Otherwise, he will offer you a cup of tea and then say bye bye. Acha work, it's a good work. Keep it up, and thank you so much. So you have to create high value for by your research. Otherwise, it will be a struggle. The research is a journey where there is a lot of disappointment research, then success. But these are few care, probably people don't care, take, so they struggle. I learned this hard way, and I'm happy I'm sharing with you. I'm sure you must be knowing also. I'm very pretty sure many of you must be, because it's a different generation. I belong to a generation which is now a few years left for my service. So your new generation is more informed. You belong to a time where literature review is possible in a week's time. We used to get a lot of reprint by writing personally. There was no time for there was no concept of internet or email. So time has changed. I'm sure there's a different time is where you can achieve things at a speed.
Any other questions from
Thank you so
Professor
much.
Gupta? Please raise your hands if there are any other questions. Well, I think we need to thank Professor Gupta for giving such an elaborate idea about as to how do you really go about doing grants. In the past, so many sessions, we have seen that there has been a concentration on the grants that you can see from DST, ICSSR, and many other government agencies, including Niti Aayog and others. A very fresh perspective, I think, was added by Professor Gupta was in terms of the corporations who can also undertake CSR activities. I think Professor Thamosi's deliberation also yesterday talked about how you can go in for CSR funds and how you can actually opt for the work which has been done. Most of them, even Professor Gupta, when he speaks about the research grants, it's very important that your specific topic is of relevance and is in line with many of the government policies. Like he spoke about Digital India or he spoke about other things. He did carefully and identified what are the aspects that you would like to study and how would you like to contribute to the field. It's also very important, as he clearly said, that when you are looking for grants, you should specifically indicate what kind of grant you're looking at and how you align your interest with the research funding agencies, because once you do that, they would be more inclined towards your research project. Another important aspect is, I think, he also said that when you start, like he started a fresh, he very beautifully, in a very humble way, said that, when he joined IIT Delhi and he got his visiting card, which was an important introduction for him to the rest of the world as to what institution he belonged and the kind of work he can deliver, and which is an important aspect for many of our scholars as well as for many of our faculty members to recognize that your institution name and your particular designation would carry some value when you are actually bringing forth the research work. And it's also important when he said that since you are working on certain things, it is important that people hear you, and that relevance of the fact that people will hear you will come from your research potential that you will generate from your CVs or from the various research conferences or from various research associations or associations in the academic fraternity that you develop over time in a slow and a gradual manner. It will not come in one go. It's not that you go and say hello to everybody and then your network builds. It is a very slow and a gradual manner that people start appreciating your work, recognizing your work, recognizing your ideas, look at the meticulous manner in which you perform your work and how much they can build a team with you. Another important focus, he said that you can't do things individually, though there are grants that are available individually, but it's always good to do things in team, and it's very important to recognize who can contribute what. A lot of times some people are very good in writing skills, some people are very good in econometrics, some people are very good in data collection, some people are very good in idea development and presentation. Identifying your team members, coming together and then presenting a research proposal is again a very important aspect. He also said there are a large number of formats that are available in many of these institutions that are there, and the calls don't get really advertised. So what's important is that whatever is your area, you continuously maintain continuous follow up with these institutions as to when they bring the call, and you'll get an idea when they usually bring a call and how do they bring a call, and address to the calls based upon the guidelines and the formats that are usually given, which is an important aspect. Another important aspect is a mentor-mentee relationship. I think we are honored to have many of the dignitaries here, like Professor M.P Gupta, who's from IIT Delhi and a very renowned person, a prolific writer and a scholar who's done so much work and is an authority in himself in his work. If one can, under his guidance, do some work. Similarly, there are other people like Professor M. Thamosi or the others that we had brought from IIT Madras or the others whom you can connect either through this FDP or through the other means, who who can also further help you, guide and collaborate with you, seeing that you have a potential. Because when they give your name, their name to somebody, they would like to see it doesn't get spoiled or it doesn't have a negative impact. So when Professor Gupta looks at somebody, he would like to see that that person has the requisite potential to complete the work and is serious and is meticulous and has a specific background of research available with him. So I think a lot of takeaways from his particular presentation, specifically in terms of what research grants really mean and how should we really go about it. So I again thank Professor M.P Gupta for giving such a beautiful presentation and such an insightful presentation. I always believe spent with a wise man is like spending time with 1,000 books together. So that knowledge and experience that these people can get from your words of wisdom is not possible for them to even get from books. So it is definitely an honor and privilege to have you speak to these faculty members who are right now in their nascent stages of developing their careers. Many of them have developed their careers but are wanting to bring about a much more rich contribution to the academic fraternity by also seeking research grants and research proposals from various other agencies. That was the prime purpose of this FDP, to ensure that the academic fraternity gains from the rich knowledge of prolific writers and scholars like you by bringing you to the forum and explaining to us exactly what is expected from us and what is not expected of us. So thank you once again, and we really feel honored to have you at BVIMR.
Kamini, you heard me patiently, everything. I think you summed up very well. I'm amazed how you summed up so, in all relay details. It's really amazing. But I also enjoyed thoroughly this session. I am sure 80 plus attendees must have benefited from my talk. I'll share my PPT to you and you can share with them.
And we'll definitely trouble you. We have been doing a lot of research initiatives at BVIMR. One research initiative that we took at BVIMR was a research cafe where we introduced many of the faculty members to bring in their ideas over a cup of tea. That is what we introduced. We also introduced something called a research series, whereby we asked many people who have published their papers to come and speak to our faculty about what methodology did they adopt, what was the idea, motivation, and how have they brought about the publications in various places that are there. Also, we thought of doing another series, which was the editorial conclave, where we introduced many of the editors to come and speak to our faculty, to tell them exactly what is expected by a journal editor in terms of the publications that they are wanting to do. So this is also one of our efforts in bringing about more research to the academic fraternity, and we feel very privileged that we could collaborate with you for that.
Pleasure, my pleasure, always.
Yeah, on behalf of Research Cell, it's a very pride privilege to thank Professor M.P Gupta sir for his very enlightened talk, especially to focus on research makes nation great. With that, our government's agenda to make our India third most admired superpower in the world, I believe researchers and we all have a nation building contribution to make. And thank you, sir, for reminding us our own responsibility and contribution that the researchers and the universities, the government affiliations can really bring towards making India great. You have also encouraged and motivated us in terms of what's the motivation of research. Probably more than the nation building, there can't be a greater contribution we all have come here to make. So, with that note, I really thank from the bottom of our heart on behalf of BVIMR, on behalf of BVIMR New Delhi. Thank you so much, sir, and we look forward to many more interactions from with you and your team. Thank you so much. Namaskar, sir. And namaskar, everybody. Tomorrow, you are all cordially invited for day 5 and last day for the FDP. Thank you so much, all. Namaskar. Namaskar, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Yes. Yeah, link is shared. There are two sessions tomorrow. So first session will be taken by Professor Utpalji. His link will be on Zoom. So kindly bear with us because I believe Professor is only used to that link. And we have also made the 42nd session. Professor Shweta from IIT Delhi is there. So we will just shift from Google to the other link. So bear with us. We are going to do a coordinated team effort and we are going to sync with all of you. Thank you so much once again from all of us, and we look forward to have you with us. Thank you.
You
Thank
conduct to daily 2 hour session or more than 2 hours?
So 2 hour session.
Session.
Yes.
2 hour 2 hour session per day, 5 days. Okay. All right.
Yes, yes. Sir, we'll also look forward to your PPT. A lot of the participants are looking forward to it. I'll
will.
drop you a mail
I
and you
will.
can just kindly share
I will do that.
the
I will do that.
resources. The resources shared by the eminent speakers will be shared with the participants. So thank you so much, all the eminent speakers. Professor Gupta, sir, we are honored. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Acha ji. Bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. We can leave the meet now because our speakers and eminent guests have left the meeting. For tomorrow's session, a morning session will be on Zoom, that is 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11, the session will be on Meet. I will share the link, and I have already shared the link on the chat window, and I will share it again on your email ID as per your Google Forms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.